So it is the 16th of December, Tuesday, 2025, and it is one day removed from the emergence of reports that writer, director, actor, producer Rob Reiner was murdered in his home with his wife Michele Reiner. As of now, it is suspected and it is believed that it was his son, Nick Reiner, who has apparently had a lifelong struggle with substance abuse and has talked about this a lot, has written about it, has made a movie with his dad, Rob Reiner, about it. It is believed that he has, for whatever reason, entered the Reiner home and has stabbed both of his parents to death. I don't really know how to make a video of this kind, and in some sense, there are questions to be asked of me and anyone who makes a video like this of, is this exploitative? But there is an element to this where I want this channel to function as a news outlet. And that is not to say that I'm going to pursue a BBC style sense of news. This is not going to be objective. I can't talk about film in an objective manner. I can't talk about film directors in an objective manner. And so there is a need for an inherent openness in this conversation. And that is why it is right for me to be upfront about the fact that this video could be seen as exploitative. It could be seen as me trying to attention grab and jump on the latest trending topic. But also the reality is that he was a major figure for many decades in the film industry. And I think it would kind of be wrong to brush what has happened and brush his career under the rug and say, we'll discuss it in 2 months, we'll discuss it in March, when the Oscars happen and he's giving the leading obituary at the Oscars. I think it would be wrong to say that'll be his moment, and until then we can't talk about it. I think it's correct for us to talk about our experiences with him and his films and his TV, regardless of how big or how small that is. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I've seen all of his films. I'm not even going to sit here and tell you that I've seen all of his films that are on that legendary 8 or 9 year run. What I have seen is Stand By Me, Misery, and When Harry Met Sally. I've watched Stand By Me once. I think it's incredible. I actually think I only watched it the first time earlier this year. And it was one that immediately I was like, this is one of the best films I've ever seen. Why have I not seen this before? It is one of the best coming-of-age films ever because it is so simple and it is so about this relationship between these friends and this moment where they are stuck in time and they are stuck in, we are best friends right now. We're always going to be best friends. And then this event happens, as events usually do in friendships, that kind of tears that friendship group apart. After this film comes out, you would kind of be correct in thinking, oh, Rob Reiner, the great coming-of-age film director. And then he goes and makes When Harry Met Sally and The Princess Bride and Misery. I haven't seen The Princess Bride. I know how much everyone loves it. I don't have very much to say about it because I haven't seen it. When Harry Met Sally is genuinely one of the dark horses for me of films that I love that you wouldn't think would be on my list, but I think it's a perfect film. I think it has one of the most iconic scenes in any film ever. I think it has to be probably top 10, top 15 scenes of any Hollywood film, of any film ever.
I'll have what she's having.
I think it is that iconic. And then Misery, I think, is a pretty damn good film. I really enjoy it. And the best thing that I would say about Rob Reiner, I did not know that any of those films were a Rob Reiner film until he had already died and I was reading the obituaries. And what is so impressive to me is how his directorial style was able to fit across so many genres and for so long. And he basically was able to do whatever was needed, whatever a studio needed, or whatever he needed, and whatever his actors needed of him in order to make the film what it was. He never stuck to one genre. His style was malleable enough. He was malleable and flexible enough as a man to say, oh, this is what is needed of me. Okay, I'll go and do that. And the dialogue between his characters in films like Misery and especially When Harry Met Sally are incredible. I think the almost philosophical discussions that happen between Harry and Sally in that film are incredible. And then more recently, how I was introduced to him, and one of the things that I remember most about him was his brief stint on the Zooey Deschanel sitcom New Girl, where he played her dad.
That little girl I was talking about, Yolanda, her name isn't Yolanda. It's Jess. She's your daughter. I'll kill you! You're dead! You're dead!
Where he plays her dad that is divorced from her mother, and the sort of need for this family to reconcile, but also to accept that the family that they once were is gone. Okay, so I'm editing and I was looking for clips for this video, and this is an aside, but I didn't realize that he plays Jordan Belfort's dad in The Wolf of Wall Street. He probably has one of the most iconic scenes in the whole fucking film. $430,000 on fucking sides, Jordy. I didn't know for a long time that he was a director. I kind of just had him in that mold. And that was, I think, probably the first thing that I seen him in. And I was like, oh, this guy's really funny. I think he had just a knack for this kind of perceived anger that he put out of, oh, I'm a very angry person. Like, look at me. How angry am I? And then to switch immediately and go into a conversational style of humor. I think that that is something that I became very aware of through him on New Girl. And then even more recently, I've been watching The Bear, and he is a guest star in season 4, the most recent season of The Bear. That is a show steeped in familial tragedy and trauma and grief. And his character is there as basically a bridge between the old way and the new way, and encouraging the pursuit of opportunity and the idea of creating opportunity. And I don't want to romanticize the death of someone nor the murder of someone, but I do think that it, for me, as someone who is in the midst of watching him on the show, it's pretty stark. This man who seemingly has been murdered as a result of familial tragedy has had as his final acting role be a show all about how do we overcome familial patterns and trauma and grief cycles. And he's quietly very good in that show, of someone who is just repeatedly banging a drum of, you have to get better, you have to create opportunity, you cannot stand still. If you stand still, you die. It has to get better. There has to be personal growth. There has to be business growth. As an aside and as a final note, I will say that the President of the United States, Donald Trump, has came out and said that Reiner and his wife have died because of Reiner's quote-unquote Trump derangement syndrome, and he had apparently angered people as a result of this. This is unconfirmed, but Nick Reiner, the apparent murderer of his parents, suffered with addiction. This just seems to be a family tragedy, and to use that against a political opponent who is now dead, is pretty fucking disgusting. And I'm going to leave that there.